and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated, and we will begin our meeting. Our meeting opens this morning with a presentation from Public Works with our director this morning, Heath Frederick, and then Ryan Lazenby following, I believe, right?
Sir.
All right.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this morning. It's always great when we get a chance to talk about Public Works and the things that we're doing on a daily basis. As you know, Public Works is made up of around 280 full-time employees in 7 divisions. We have facilities, construction and maintenance, stormwater, fleet, solid waste, engineering, traffic, and parking. This morning I've asked Ryan Lazenby, our manager of engineering, to talk about his division a little bit and some about engineering. But before he does that, I want to share with you American Public Works Association poster this year, and our theme is Ready and Resilient. I believe this represents exactly what we've been through for the last 2 years. Your Public Works team has been dedicated, we've adapted, and in most cases we've maintained our current level of service. So I'm extremely proud of this team and all the hard work they do, and I know that you are too. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
My name is Ryan Lazenby. I'm the Civil Engineering Manager for Public Works, and I just wanted to give you a little bit more information of how our organization is set up and what we do for the citizens of Lakeland. So we are set up in 3 small teams. One is design and permitting, one is engineering and inspection, and one is surveying and mapping. And we're actually the smallest division in Public Works with only 17 full-time employees. So that makes up about 6% of the total Public Works staff, and we're less than 1/2 of 1% of the total of the City of Lakeland workforce. So what we kind of think is we're a real small group, but we have a really large footprint on the City of Lakeland. So our design and permitting staff are made up of 5 individuals, and these individuals, they're basically the pipeline that secures us federal funding to work on our capital improvement projects. So we are a fully certified local agency program in all phases. So we're able to secure federal funding and utilize federal funding for design, CEI, which is basically inspection, and construction. So these team members, they act as project managers during all phases. So they act as a project manager during design, they act as project administrators during construction, and they also provide in-house design services for our own capital improvements projects. So we do design in-house, and we also manage consultants that do other designs that over and above that. These folks, a small group, there they are, just a small group right there. They're responsible for reviewing every single site plan or subdivision plan that comes into the City of Lakeland. There's one person whose primary responsibility to do that, and so far in the first 7 months of this fiscal year, he's reviewed 212 site plans. That does not include resubmissions, which almost every one of them has some sort of comment that needs to be addressed. This group of 5 individuals is also responsible for reviewing every single right-of-way use permit that comes into the City of Lakeland. There's one person that has the primary responsibility to do that. We do have other staff members that are cross-trained to help when the workload gets up, but that person has done 158 permit reviews so far this fiscal year. That's not the 12 months, that's just so far this fiscal year. He has 40 on his desk right now. And some of them are quite large. For instance, Summit has just submitted their first batch of permits. There's 90,000 lineal feet of conduit in their first batch of permits, and it stretches for miles and miles, and there's just one person doing that. So really small footprint, really big impact on the city. Engineering inspection, also a small group. These handsome fellows are down there in the parking garage at 7 o'clock, and they're out of here by 7:10. They have a pre-meeting every day to talk about safety and what's going to go on in the day. They provide inspection services for all private and public development that's going on in the city. They ensure that all roadways that are going to be deaded to the city are constructed in conformance with our city's standards. They are responsible for every one of those right-of-way use permits that I talked about, for making sure that they're installed according to our engineering standards, making sure that people's yards are being restored, making sure they stay in the right-of-way. They're also responsible for inspecting every temporary traffic control MOT scheme that you see in the city of Lakeland. When emergencies happen, when a water main bust or something like that happens, something is hit, these guys are on call, go out there at night and tell them how to fix the road and how to minimize the impact of their traveling public. And I would tell you that that happens a lot more often than you think. It's a regular thing that these people are having to respond to this emergency situations, and that's just a testament to how good not only water utilities is, but the engineering inspection staff is, that you don't know about half of them. They also provide inspection services for our own capital improvements projects as quality control, even when we're using in-house construction forces. And they've got a brand new duty. These folks will be implementing the parklet and sidewalk cafe and making sure everybody complies with the new standards and getting everybody permitted. So they provide, and I've just in the blue here, I've just kind of given a fun fact for each one of these teams. So they provide a wide variety of inspections, including commercial site plans, subdivisions, driveways, site alteration permits, right-of-way use permits, AD inspections, just to give you an idea of their workload. I'm going to pick one of them. Just driveways. These are new driveways. They've done 1,000 of them so far this year. Just those guys right there. There's not a huge staff, so they're very, very busy. Sometimes they'll have 20, 25 inspections a day each. Our surveying and mapping folks, real small group as well. We have 2 survey groups. We do a lot of support work for other departments in the city, like Lakeland Electric, water utilities. In addition to that, they're responsible. We have a city surveyor, licensed professional, and they're responsible for making sure all subdivisions comply with Florida statutes and things like that. They provide all our design surveys for what we design to put projects out on the road, and they provide construction stakeout services and record drawings for all our capital improvement projects. And they also prepare legal descriptions and sketches when we're proposing to acquire an easement or a right-of-way dedication, things like that. And fun fact about surveying, there's only 2,500 registered surveys in the entire state of Florida. That's out of 21.5 million people. There's only 2,500 registered surveys. 45% of those are over the age of 60. So that's a very, very specialized position, and it's very, very difficult to do. In fact, I'll let you know that our city surveyor gets headhunters that contact him with just, hey, we'll pay you, this and that's, just come along, because there's a real need for surveyors in this state. So I wanted to just focus on some of the projects that we currently have under development. And there's a lot more than this, probably a list that's 3 times as long as this, but I wanted to give the citizens and you guys a little idea about some of the federal funding and things that we're working through right now that directly offsets salaries, that puts projects on the road in the city of Lakeland with minimal impact to the city's budget. So the Main Street pathways, my staff's out there this morning to do a final walkthrough. That is paved, and they're doing a final walkthrough for the construction completed. 3 Parks Trail West, we just finished constructing 3 Parks Trail East, which is down New Jersey Road corridor. 3 Parks Trail West connects it from basically the dog park on Cleveland Heights down to the YMCA. That'll complete the 3 Parks Trail system. It's designed, it's going to construction in DOT's next fiscal year, which begins with June, and that's 100% funded by federal funds because we have those LAP certifications that I talked about. Providence Road improvement, that's a city roadway that our staff put together concept plans. We worked with community development to get it prioritized through the TPO. We have secured $4 million in federal funding to get that constructed, and that's a complete street project that will totally change that corridor. We'll provide wide sidewalks on both sides, improve drainage, improve transit, add roadway lighting to the corridor. $4 million because of these folks I've talked to you about we're able to do that project without any impact to the city's budget. The Tenor Trail System, these are current projects. We're going through the PD&E, what's called a project development environmental phase, and almost have that wrapped up. In fact, I will be bringing a memorandum of agreement to you guys very soon between the FWC and the City of Lakeland to allow for the construction of that trail. We secured federal funding for the PD&E effort, and we're also working to get federal funding for additional $2.7 million to get that designed and constructed in the near future. The State Road 572, Drainfield Road, Don Emerson Drive Roundabout. We broke ground last week on that. They're scraping dirt right now. DOT is paying $2.1 million for the construction of that we were able to process through a joint participation agreement with the department. And this one doesn't have federal funding, but I know a lot of you guys are interested in the 5 Points Roundabout, you know, at Lake Buell to Sloan Avenue, the gateway to eventually Bonnet Springs Park. The phase 2 plans, or the 60% plans, are on my desk right now. We're hoping to have design completed this summer. We have construction funding set aside, and yes, we're working on a feasibility study to figure out how to get pedestrians out to Bonnet Springs Park. So just in summary, we want you guys to know, and the community to know, that we're here for you. This small group of 17 folks are here for you to provide solutions, to work with you, and we are listening. And we do things in the background that you might not be aware of. For instance, I've heard in the city commission, could the Dixieland area look like? Well, that little sketch on the left is it. And we pass that off to CRA, who's working with their consultants. That's something we prepared that says, hey, Elise, this is what it could look like. We hear things like there's a multifamily development that wants to go in at Lake Miriam by that Publix property. So that's what that intersection could look like up in the top right corner. And we pass that off to Chuck Barnby and Community Development and say, here, Chuck, here's something to get the discussion going with Polk County and the school board and other things. So we're here to serve you with engineering solutions. And I thank you for the opportunity to present.
Keep it up. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Madden.
Thank you so much, Ryan. This is so exciting to see everything compiled together and get all the statistics, and to see, you know, what your small band of workforce is doing. It's incredible. I was hopeful that we could get the slides from today's presentation.
Yeah,
That
sure.
we can send the
Of
back.
course you can.
It was great. Thank you so much.
We're slide junkies. Commissioner Music.
Thanks, Ryan. I love that, you know, whenever someone comes in front of us and shows a small team that is doing tons of stuff, because I love to see the value of that. How much, I don't know the question is how much time, but I've been up in your office and I've seen some of the ideas that you've kind of had back about different areas that we've had. And I think that that's certainly a benefit to us. And I think that when we're talking about things like the South Florida, you know, road diet and things of that nature, you know, I would encourage you and your department, when you have, you know, an idea pop into your head that seems like, man, this is something that we could do. Because when I look at these developments that are gridlocked, the traffic is just miserable, and people, we tend to see what we see. For us to be able to look outside, and you and your department seems to have a good handle on that and vision. So I just want to encourage you to keep up the good ideas and send those our way and say, hey, listen, here's something we could do. I mean, through Chuck, through your department. But I think that just kudos to you and your department, because it's again, doing more with less is awesome. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, and Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ryan. It's good to get an overview and a reminder of all the things that you and your team are involved in every day for the city. What's something that you wish more people, more residents, knew and understood about the work that you all do?
It's very complicated. It's you know, it's very easy to say, well, this construction job will impact traffic, this will do that, the other. I don't think people appreciate the complexity of it. And I'll just point you to the slide I have on the screen. That picture on the bottom right corner where you can't see it, looks like a tornado. That's one sheet of the one plan sheet from that Don Emerson Drive roundabout that's underway right now. That thing is this thick. The contract is this thick. That's all coordinated through our office, and we go to great lengths to minimize the impact to the traveling public. For instance, on the Don Emerson Drive roundabout, the first 75 days of that project is spent widening the roadway so we can shift pavement over and keep traffic moving on Don Emerson Drive during the entire construction phase. And I think sometimes that's lost on folks, that, yeah, we're out here and we're doing the best we can, and construction is impactful. And I think another thing is roadway projects are very, very expensive. For instance, that roundabout's $2 million, but it's hard for people to see what the benefit of that is in the short term and look at the overall picture and see how that connects with the city.
That's a great example, and I'm glad you pointed that out. And for those of you who question where that is at the entrance to the airport, as well as the public access that is to the north of that. It's a enter for employees only. And so that will make all of that traffic flow much, much better and safer, because this roundabout also will slow traffic down.
And the width.
And the width, yes. Commissioner McCarley?
I'm glad that Commissioner McLeod brought that up, of what you would like the public to hear, because the way I think of, from being an infrastructure junkie myself, and I'm serve on transportation planning organization and the transit board, and I'm very interested in how this works because I am not a STEM student by any stretch of the imagination. However, I will say that engineering to me, and I don't want you to get a big ego about this, but engineering to me is a lot like surgeons. Like, you can't fail. If a bridge that an engineer builds fails, that's catastrophic. If a road fails, it's catastrophic. So also for the public to understand that it seems like we're slapping down some pavement, but all those numbers and those lines that you show are just critical markers to an overall plan where you all have to really think about this. And you also have a lot of standards and federal and state regulations that you have to follow, that if we have a pasture somewhere that we're putting our own road in, you know,
That's true.
that we don't have to abide by that. You have to abide by a lot of rules and regulations that people don't really grasp, which also incurs that cost. But you don't want a road to fail. You don't want a road to not be designed well, and you want it to be safe. So kudos to you guys. I'm so glad you presented this and that you showed your staff and your team, because I think that is a critical component of how the city works. And like Commissioner Music said, you're lean and mean, and you guys get a lot of stuff done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that's it. Appreciate it. We are now going to have Bill Cohen come up, and he is going to do our beautification awards for both residential and commercial. Residential, I believe, is first, sir.
Good morning. I believe the residential will come up first here. Let's see. Okay, this award goes to Mario Falcon, who resides at 201 Hunter Street. That's in the heart of the Dixieland historic area. The house was actually built in 1915, so it definitely qualifies as an historical house. There's been a lot of improvement to this residence recently. You can't see them here, but they have 3 or 4 gazebos in the back of the property. Property perfectly maintained, nice use of color and ground covers and shrubs, so a really great job there. So is anyone here to receive this award?
Yes.
Come on down. I'm about to get one for you.
Would you like to say a few words about your project?
Good morning.
Morning.
I've been working on my house for over 12 years in the Dixieland area. I've been there for 22 years, and I've done a lot of work to it.
It looks like a lot of fun.
It is. It's a paradise backyard.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful Emily Foster is here. Thank you for all the permits and your help. So without you, I couldn't done all that. But I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Okay, the residential award is really a spectacular one this month. Summit Consulting LLC, which is located about two blocks from this building.
You may have noticed.
117 North Massachusetts Avenue. Beautifully, I really love the architecture, the benches here in the front along the sidewalk, and also the overhangs add a lot of architectural interest to the project. Beautifully landscaped with several different kinds of palms, mass trees, and also bamboo. So it's really an interesting landscape. And you can't miss it, obviously. So is there anyone here to receive this award?
All right. Come on up, team. Right here in the middle. You guys are all so shy, so protocol-centric.
Well, thank you very much. We are just honored and excited to be a part of downtown. Our first employees are moving in today. We thank all of you, so many hands that went into allowing us to do this. Thank you for all of your support. Thrilled to be downtown, thrilled to contribute to a beautiful streetscape, landscape, and a wonderful place to be.
Good. This is an incredible investment into our downtown, as you know. And most of the employees will be down by when? Next Friday. This coming Friday. They started moving some in April 1st. You know, those, just a few in there just to make sure everything's working. And then I think I saw that you have a punch-out list for 6 months of people that are going to be on site for 6 people for 6 months period of time, just to fix things that come along the way in a building like that. It's just part of the contract, which is pretty incredible when you consider the complexity of a building like that and how quickly it has gone up. So, so beautiful, such a great contribution to downtown, and it's going to be wonderful to have all the employees down. Good. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. How can I help?
Underway.
That's what I'm here for.
All right, we now have some proclamations, and we have some very, very exciting ones. We're going to start with the Nanocephaly, and that is Awareness Month for May. And here to receive that proclamation are Michael and Alexis Marino. Are you here, Michael and Alexis? Come on up. I'm going to read that proclamation.
We don't get enough of that up here, that's for sure.
I gotta get you guys to take a bag.
Exactly.
All right, I won't freak you out anymore. Whereas an and is it an nanocephaly? Nanocephaly. So they have to do some training here with me, and I apologize. Nanocephaly is a rare neural tube birth defect. It is the absence of a major portion of the brain, the skull and scalp, which occurs when a rostral end of the neural tube fails to close on an infant's head, usually between the 23rd and 26th day following conception. And whereas neural tube defects, such as an anencephaly, occur very early in pregnancy, before most women even know they are pregnant, and whereas this condition affects the central nervous system and is considered a neural tube defect, and whereas the exact cause of anencephaly is unknown, there is no known cure or standard treatment for anencephaly, and whereas anencephaly may be diagnosed during pregnancy through a routine ultrasound or blood screening, and whereas it is estimated that each year about 1 in every 1,000 pregnancies in the United States and about 1 in every 5,000 to 10,000 babies are born with the condition, and whereas the anencephaly babies are not compatible with life, and most babies with anencephaly are stillborn or die within days or hours of birth, a life need not be long to be meaningful. Now therefore, I, H. William Mutz, City of Lakeland Mayor, and on behalf of the Lakeland Commission, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Anencephaly Awareness Month. In witness whereof, I have signed and affixed the seal. And then I have 2 proclamations for you. Can you make some comments?
We're so honored to be here to accept this in honor of our daughter. Oh, I'm not gonna cry. She lived for an hour and 10 minutes in July 29th of 2019. It's been a long, hard journey. I found out at an ultrasound where I was supposed to find out the gender, and they told me that I could either terminate my pregnancy or go on. So I decided to go on, and we got to meet our beautiful little girl. Looks just like Harbor here, but we appreciate the support, and we are so blessed.
Thank you. Sorry, we'll take you.
Perfect. 3, 2, 1.
Next, we have Historic Preservation Month, and for 2022, here to receive the proclamation is Gal Fields on behalf of Lakeland History and Cultural Center, Advisory Committee Chair Emily Foster, and Senior Planner in Historic Preservation of Economic Development with the City of Lakeland, and LHCC Advisory Committee and the Historic Lakeland members. So all y'all come on down. All right? Mayor Fields, so great to stand here by you, sir. Good morning to you. Come across that one, that'd be great. These guys have worked a great deal of time, and we're getting close, aren't we? Getting close. Very, very close. So I'm going to read the proclamation for Historic Preservation Month. Whereas Lakeland has important architectural and cultural history that should be preserved, protected, and recognized, and whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing cities and neighborhoods, encouraging sustainable development, fostering civic pride, energizing local economies, maintaining community character, and enhancing the quality of our lives. And whereas it is important to appreciate the role of history in our city and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that have shaped us as a community. Whereas the month of May has been designated as Historic Preservation Month by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, in which it recognizes, celebrates, and promotes the diverse historic places that matter to people and communities across our nation. And whereas in celebration of the Lakeland History and Cultural Center's opening this year, whose vision is to tell many stories connecting one community through dedicated exhibit and research space that will share the inclusive stories of Lakeland in harmony with all those that have contributed to its culturally diverse history. And whereas the City of Lakeland's Historic Preservation Board and Historic Lakeland Incorporated are proud to co-sponsor this year's Historic Preservation Month, now therefore I, H. William Mutz, as Mayor of the City of Lakeland, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Historic Preservation Month in the City of Lakeland and encourage the citizens of our great community to participate in this special observance. Who is going to receive this?
Well, John and I are going to share it.
All right, all right.
We're going to let John.
And John, you're going to talk because I can see the notes in your hand. So maybe I can hold that while you do.
That's fine.
That's good.
Just a couple of things. Thank you for the proclamation this morning. I want to remind everybody of the theme for the month is going to be People Saving Places. And on behalf of the Historic Preservation Board and Historic Lakeland Incorporated, we are having our annual awards ceremony on May 16th at the Polk Theater at 6 in the evening. And you're all welcome.
Wonderful. That's great. And we had a postpone on the Cultural Center because we're working still on some things within the building itself, correct?
Yes.
Any comments or speculations on a date?
I have been told October.
All right, sorry.
We're going to wait until your staff tells us the date. How about that? I do want to say thank you for the support from the city and the historic Lakeland and Historic Preservation Board on helping us with getting the Lakeland History and Culture Center started. It has been a wonderful public-private partnership, and working with the City Commission and your staff have been great on helping some of us novices to get up to speed on what it takes to do what we're doing. And we're excited about the stories that we're going to tell of all the contributions that have helped make Lakeland what it is today and what we hope to be in the future. It'll be people-focused and on what has happened in our past and what has brought us together as a community. And hopefully we're going to do a good job of making sure that everyone has an appreciation for all that has been contributed to this community through the different time periods that have gone by to get us where we are today so we have a great future in front of us. Thank you again, and thanks to everyone and all of our committee members who have helped to put this together because they've worked hard for a long period of time. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, this is such a wonderful asset that we are going to add. But beyond that, the work that's been done by this committee and people who preserve the history of our city and lots of what we enjoy today that wouldn't have been preserved had it not been for them just continues on. So thank you for the legacy of that and all the work that you do to make that happen. Well, we'll take a quick
Perfect. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much. These are Emily. Good to see you. All right, next we have Motorcycle Awareness Month. And here to receive the proclamation is Mark Zinger, president of ABAT, which is American Bikers Aimed Towards Education, Tim McDermott, Holly Callister, Public Relations, and members of ABAT of Polk County. You guys can all come up, all right, because I saw you downstairs, and that was great.
How much group for that?
Motorcycle awareness.
I'll stand in the middle, you guys get on either side. You know, the work that motorcyclists do for the city throughout the course of, here, let's take a couple more steps back. We'll just stay in this line here. Is missed many, many times, and so we'll get a little opportunity to hear a little about that as we go forward. May is National Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, and Florida's growing popularity with motorcycle enthusiasts make motorcycle safety a very important issue. And whereas according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 4,553 motorcyclists lost their lives in fatal highway crashes in 2005, and 56% involved another vehicle, and whereas approximately 80% of vehicle crashes injure or kill a motorcycle rider, and victims are 37 times more likely to die in a traffic crash than occupants in the passenger vehicles. Motorcyclists are much more vulnerable than other motorists in the event of a crash, and motorcycle riders now account for 1 out of every 10 U.S. road fatalities. And whereas motorcyclists are often hidden in a vehicle's blind spot or missed in a quick look due to their smaller size, choosing to make a visual check for motorcycles by checking mirrors and blind spots before you enter or leave a lane of traffic at intersections could very well save a life. And whereas with warmer weather, more motorcycles are on the road and motorcycles are often difficult to see, therefore people in other vehicles need to be extra vigilant by looking out for motorcycles when sharing the road. And whereas Florida Department of Transportation joins with other federal, state, and local highway safety and law enforcement organizations like the Florida Highway Patrol in proclaiming May as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month and making a visual check for motorcycles by checking mirrors and blind spots before entering or leaving a lane of traffic and at intersections can be reminded to save a life. And whereas the members of ABAT, a brotherhood aimed towards education, continually promote motorcycle safety, education, and awareness in high school drivers' education programs and to the general public. And whereas remembering that motorcycles are a vehicle with all of the rights and privileges of any other vehicle on the roadway, I, William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, on behalf of our entire commission, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. And then I pass on this proclamation. Who gets to hold this and speak? All right. Hey, Tim, great to meet you, sir. We appreciate it. Would you like to make a statement?
I don't have too much to say. Just check twice for motorcycles. We're all out there. We're very vulnerable. There's too many distractions on the road, so y'all just check twice and look out for us. We appreciate it. Much love from Polk County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. It's great, sir. I'm
There you go. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
A-bait. I said it wrong. It's A-bait. Okay. Okay, it's now the 50th anniversary of the Florida Association of City Clerks. And so we have, where's Debbie in here? Is she in here?
They were not persuaded.
Oh my
I
goodness.
invited all 4 of them. As you can see, none of them.
This is Kelly Cruz, who is our city clerk.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you have no clue what they have to be responsible for because of the details, and do it exquisitely and without issues always. It's at least any that we get to see. And so we're so grateful for you. So,
Mayor?
yes.
And she's a past president of the state organization too as well.
Right, that is absolutely true, and thank you for pointing that out, and I would have missed that, sir. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is a time-honored and vital part of local government and is one of the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the not you personally, but the office itself. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional and essential link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and intergovernmental agencies at the local, state, and federal levels, along with other essential services. And whereas the Florida Association of City Clerks is the professional membership organization for Florida's municipal clerks and others who work within the clerk's office. And whereas FACC began in 1972 when its founder, the late Robert N. Clark, CMC, City Clerk of Sunrise, saw the need for an organization to bring together like-minded people to unite, but I need to do a little typo there, to unite the voice of all municipal clerks to share ideas and to assist one another in the work of municipal government. And whereas FACC celebrates its 50th birthday anniversary in 2022, and a golden anniversary is a momentous occasion, which is why we put this gold-like seal color right there, worthy of that celebration. Whereas FACC is a primary source for educational programs, seminars, workshops, and webinars for educating Florida's municipal clerks and those who serve the clerk's office, and municipal clerks to FACC to provide the training needed to obtain their certified municipal clerk, that's the CMC, and master municipal clerk, MMC certifications. I, H. William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, do hereby proclaim May 2nd as a day of celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Florida Association of the City Clerks, in witness thereof and on behalf of the City Commission. And your comments, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Thank you for recognizing FACC's 50th anniversary. FACC provides educational opportunities for city clerks across the state on things like minutes and ethics and public records and elections. And so it also provides an opportunity for clerks to get together and share best practices. And I'm honored to serve in the town where I grew up as the city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And there is your proclamation.
Three, two, one. 2, 1.
You are awesome. That brings us to our last proclamation, which is Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week. Here to receive the proclamation is Chief Ruben Garcia and staff. So come on down if you could, please. That was a very loud on behalf of all of us. Whereas in 1962, declared May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and Week, in which is National Police Week. And whereas police officers of America have worked devotedly and selflessly on behalf of the people of this nation, regardless of the peril or hazards to themselves. And whereas police officers throughout our communities are dedicated to protecting and serving our neighborhoods, schools, and families. And whereas police officers risk their lives daily to ensure public safety and enforce the laws of our land. And whereas the Lakeland community values the courage and devotion of our Lakeland police officers, recognizing our collective prosperity depends upon their integrity, which our law enforcement officers maintain in order to provide peace and security, as well as abundant amounts of training. And now, therefore, I, H. William Musler, Lakeland Mayor, and on behalf of the Lakeland City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2022 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and celebrate and declare the week of May 15th through the 21st to be designated as Police Week in Lakeland. As residents join in deserved recognition of the service provided by these men and women who night and day protect us through enforcement of our laws, as we honor those federal, state, and municipal officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty. And I have signed that proclamation. I was asked this weekend by someone, when you have responsibilities as a commission, what are one of the most important things that is the highest priority to you? And I said, it's public safety. You don't have public safety, nothing else matters. We have to have the ability to know that we can wake up in a place that it's going to be safe, that fires are going to be put out. And when you think about the importance of having less angst in life and more certainty about our future, public safety can never, ever be compromised. And so we thank you, because you are the front line of that in our community, and we're so very, very grateful.
And we're certainly appreciative to work in a city that appreciates their police officers. This is certainly a key city. We have seen publicized throughout the state and the nation of the way a community takes care of their police department, and hopefully your police department takes care of you. So we're certainly proud of that. Assistant Chief Pacheco has a few dates he wants to share with you as well, but just for myself, I want to say thank you for our citizens that we get to serve every day. We have a wonderful opportunity to have a great memorial here for our 7 officers that has given their life in the line of duty, as well as our county memorial is here as well over in Veterans Park. So if you have the opportunity, please stop by and see each one of those memorials. But if I could pass it to Assistant Chief Pacheco.
Good morning. I just wanted to mention, as the chief said, but during Police Week, our officers are going to have the opportunity. Our honor guard is actually going up to Washington this year to lay a wreath at the unknown soldier. So that's a tremendous opportunity for our members of our department to be up there, and Assistant Chief Lehman is going to be accompanying them up there. So we're grateful for them and take a lot of pride that they're going to get to go do that this year. The other thing that we wanted people to recognize too is we talked about officers killed in the line of duty, but last year was a really bad year for police in this nation. Over 616 officers died in the line of duty last year, and that doesn't even count the 176 that died by suicide also last year. So it's a tremendous amount to have to deal with that. This is National Mental Health Month also, so we like to just take time to recognize our families and recognize the officers who do this job every day. And there's a cost that comes with that, and there's a mental health cost that comes with that. So not only for the officers, but for their families also. So the last thing I'd like to mention is that every year we do a 5K fundraiser for our Lakeland Police Foundation, and that is May 21st this year. And one of the things that we're doing this year is we're going to recognize our families for standing behind us and being our support system for what we do every day. So thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody's welcome. Commissioner McLeod, and invite everybody else to come out and run with you. So appreciate it.
We have to have a designee, and he just seems so efficient. All right, let's take a
We can walk.
Yes. All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Good looking group right there.
All right, that brings us then to our approval of the consent agenda, as we have no committee reports today, which is a little portion of our meeting. And so if that would include the asterisk items, and which also includes the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or question by the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously approved. That takes us into ceasing to meet as a commission and moving into becoming an equalization board. And as an equalization board, we will hear from our city attorney Palmer on lots cleaning and clearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city charter requires that the city commission convene as an equalization board prior to imposing a special assessment lien against private property. So if you received a notice to appear this morning because the city has mowed or otherwise cleaned your property and has indicated they're going to impose a special assessment lien against you, this is your opportunity to address the city commission and express any objections you might have to that or ask any questions.
Are there any individuals in the room representing a property on the list? And you can see it panning by. Okay, seeing none.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve and a second by Commissioner Music. Discussion by commissioners. Any other discussion or question by the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Also unanimously passes. We cease to meet as an equalization board, reconvene as a commission, and then that brings us to public hearings. Item 3A is for second reading. We have none, so that takes us to item 3B, resolutions number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution that will have first reading this morning in a public hearing, but will not be acted on. It'll come back for another reading on May 16th. And that is proposed resolution number 22-020, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, expanding an existing brownfield area to include additional property generally located south and east of George Jenkins Boulevard, south and west of Lake Wire Drive and Sykes Boulevard, and north of West Main Street, pursuant to sections 376.802B Florida statutes, authorizing the city attorney or designee to notify the Florida Department of Environmental Protection of said designation, providing an effective date. So this is just a public hearing this morning, but no action.
All right, thank you. That takes us into Community Redevelopment Agency and item 4A. And I believe, Elise, you'll be presenting this one? Yeah.
I can introduce it, and then Elise, I know you have some graphics as well that you could show. This is an acquisition, or actually this is a proposal with Waller Construction for the construction of a screen wall for the Bay Street Substation. When the CRA entered into its acquisition and redevelopment agreement with framework for the development of the Meriton Apartments, one of the conditions of that agreement was that the CRA screen the Bay Street Substation to improve the aesthetics of that area. So on August 23rd, the CRA issued an invitation to bid and, for the construction of that screen wall and received 5 bids. The lowest responsible bidder was Waller Construction out of Lakeland that bid $249,850. That came before the City Commission back in December. And the City Commission expressed concerns about the amount of stucco on that wall and expressed an interest in looking at this as a brick wall instead. So the CRA went back and redesigned the wall and then went back to Waller for a new quote from them for a 100% brick wall. They received a revised cost for the wall of $397,112. Waller has agreed to hold that price until May 15th of 2022, and that is recommended for your approval. Elise can answer questions about the makeup of the wall or any other questions you might have.
Elise, you want to make any comments about the wall ahead of time?
I don't. I think that City Attorney Davis covered everything.
Do we need to move to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Yes, and a second. All right, and this is a softening of, you don't hide substations, but you can soften their appearance, and that's the purpose in this. Commissioner Walker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to say thank you to our CRA for doing what we asked them to do about making it look, even though trying again to soften what's behind it, but certainly it adds more, I think, of, I guess, an appearance, as far as a brick kind of a concept versus stucco. And something going to last too, because stucco can eventually dissolve and you have to go back and do some work on it as well. So I appreciate that.
Commissioner Music.
Two things. One, I like, as I'm looking through the bidding, that the top two companies with the most appropriate bids were both Lakeland companies, which was awesome. Elise, can you tell me, as I'm looking at the schematic, I see that it's a CMU wall with brick on the front. We also are having brick on the inside, which would be the substation side. Is that because it can be seen from somewhere? Is that why we wanted that? We wanted to pay extra to have that brick on the inside as well?
We do. We want it to be consistent, Commissioner.
Okay.
It's both sides.
That's visible from outside the joinery on the backside, you know.
Okay, and that's why that was my question, is can you see it from the other side? So thank you.
That's right. And from the structures that are multi-story downtown too as well, you start to look out those windows.
Thank you.
That's even more so.
Yeah.
Of course, they can see everything at this point. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. In light of that, are they going to do any landscaping on the inside?
There's no intent to landscape the interior of the wall because it is gravel, and then there's also, it is an electric substation. We do have to ground the electrical, the fence to ensure that there are no conflicts there. So there's no intent to landscape the interior of the wall. We don't want to create conflicts with the lines that are there. But we will install the city streetscape on the exterior of the wall. That way it matches the north side of Bay Street as you move towards Lake and under the underpass there. So our intent is to just make this a better pedestrian.
Other questions by commissioners? Any questions by the audience at all? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, I didn't see him walking up. Yes, sir.
Is this going to be done on Lake Parker too?
No, this is being done just at Meriton.
Just there? Will it be done in the future in Lake Parker? The wall?
The walls.
No plans for that, no.
There's no plans for that. This is only with respect to this particular
That's all I
project.
wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions or comments by the audience? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. That brings us back from the Community Development Agency to the Commission, again, as the City Manager's report on 5A.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, and please excuse my voice. I'm trying to do my very best Commissioner Music representation this morning with such a deep voice. The first item, I have two items. The first item is regarding an award of RFP number 2073 to Gallagher Benefits Services for employee benefits broker and consultant. Gallagher Benefit Services is the city's current employee benefits broker and consultant. The employee benefits broker and consultant is the city's consultant regarding changes to our benefits plans and associated legal requirements. On January 12, 2022, 97 prospective vendors received notification of the employee benefits consultant RFP. 8 were local. 7 proposals were received at the RFP opening on March 14, 2022. On March 31, 2022, a 7-member selection committee comprised of a cross-section of the city management team and 1 city commissioner reviewed submittals and scored each of the responding firms. The selection committee agreed to invite the top 3 prospective firms for a presentation and interview process with their representatives on April 12, 2022. Based upon that process, the selection committee recommends that the City Commission authorize the appropriate city officials to negotiate a contract that will remain in effect for 2 years through June 1st, 2024, with 3 additional 1-year renewal options for the annual fee for services of $111,000, with Gallagher Benefit Services to provide the employee benefit broker consultant services, and that would be effective June 1st of 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Seeing none, any discussion or question by the audience? All right. This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, the staff is requesting that we remove item B from this agenda. It will come back on a future agenda. Before final action, there's more information related to coverage for power production that is needed from the top 2 ranked respondents. And so we will be requesting that from them and would like to bring this back at a future date.
Motion to remove from agenda.
Second.
Motion removed in the second. Discussion by Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sean. Does this mean that it will go back to the selection committee?
It's likely. We're working on some need for additional information based on some of the conversation that was had even at the agenda study on Friday. We'll see where that goes, but it may result in an addendum that would be issued, and then the top 2 would have the ability to respond to that so that we can gain that additional information before we move further.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any questions or discussion by the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. So it goes back to committee. That brings us to 4A1 under first reading ordinances by our City Attorney Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have several ordinances for first reading. These will be read by title only today, and will come back for a second reading and public hearing on May 16th. The first is proposed ordinance number 22-018, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 5751 to modify an existing conditional use to allow an outdoor covered play pavilion on property located at 1736 New Jersey Road, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 22-019, an ordinance relating to local government comprehensive planning, making findings, providing for small-scale amendment number LUS 22-002 to a certain portion of the future land use map of the Lakeland Comprehensive Plan, our Community 2030, changing the future land use designation on approximately 8.57 acres located at the southeast corner of Parkway Frontage Road South and Pipkin Creek Road from Neighborhood Activity Center, NAC, to Residential Medium, RM, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 22-020, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 4382 as amended to provide for a modification to plan unit development zoning for Lakeside Preserve to allow for up to 120 additional multifamily dwelling units in lieu of 20,000 square feet of retail personal service uses and 45,000 square feet of office, institutional, and hotel uses on approximately 8.57 acres located at the southeast corner of Parkway Frontage Road South and Pipkin Creek Road, changing the context sub-district on approximately 5.76 acres of said property to suburban neighborhood at SNH, providing conditions, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. And last is proposed ordinance number 22-021, an ordinance relating to the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, making findings, approving the inclusion of certain lands located within the city of Lakeland within the boundaries of the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Again, these ordinances will come back for a second reading, public hearing, and consideration of adoption on May 16th.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Mann.
Yes, I know Commissioner McCarley asked for a Google image for today's meeting, even though it is first reading. And then I also had a question on number 3A3 with regard to, I see Chuck at the podium, with regard to accessibility from this property to Lakeside Village. Chuck, is there pedestrian bike accessibility from number 3 to Lakeside Village?
For the record, Chuck Barby with the Community and Economic Development Department. The aerial that is before you is probably 6 months old. It's the latest that's available through Google. But what it does show is it shows generally the southwest Lakeland area as it exists around the end of 2021. The subject property in terms of Lakeside Preserve is designated by the red star right there, kind of in the northwest corner of the picture. Pipkin Creek Road runs north-south generally. Drainfield Road, as it transitions to the Parkway Frontage Road, is shown here east-west. Commissioner Madden, in terms of how this property will be connected to Lakeside Village, There is a sidewalk and a bike lane that exists on Drainfield Road and Parkway Frontage Road as you go east towards the Hardin Boulevard intersection. One of the standing requests that we have with the Department of Transportation as part of its resurfacing of Hardin Boulevard is that it provides sidewalks along the west side of the underpass right there at Polk Parkway. As it exists right now, this is really the only portion of Hardin Boulevard that does not have sidewalks within within the state right-of-way in Lakeland. And so that work is still underway. That project is about 2 or 3 years out. It does not appear that the sidewalk would be incorporated into the resurfacing, but we're continuing to push on that because that is a critical gap in making that connection to Lakeside Village.
And would a development there in that property give it any kind of leverage to move up the priority list or not necessarily?
I think it helps. I think with everything that's happening in Southwest Lakeland, and I'll just kind of jump back and to put everything in context here, we have Lakes of Laurel Highlands, which is developing 631 single-family units northeast corner of Polk Parkway and Airport Road. Part of that project is going to include a collector road that will connect in with North Parkway frontage to the west of Waring. That roadway cross-section includes sidewalks as well as bike lanes. We're having some issues with the Turnpike enterprise in terms of how that connection is going to be made to North Parkway frontage road, and so those evaluations are still underway. But regardless, there will be a pedestrian connection that will actually allow those folks to go primarily via sidewalk to walk or bike over to Lakeside Village along the north side of North Parkway frontage road. We've got the 724-acre Lakeland Central Park Business Park, which is under development on the west side of Airport Road. Both Lakeland Central Park and Steeplechase have retail entitlements along Airport to help provide for shorter trips as those residents are built in the area. As you start to move south from Lakeside Preserve, of course, you've got Parkway Corporate Center, which continues to develop, and moving down towards Pipkin Road. This is another corridor where we're seeing significant amount of residential and some retail development as we speak. The county's in the process of widening Pipkin Road from Florida Avenue back to Modelo Road, and that's about a $50 million improvement. That will include sidewalks on both sides of the road as well as bike lanes. The property right there in the southwest corner of Yates and Pipkin, that was approved about a month ago by the City Commission for 252 apartments. That is continuing to move forward. We've got Town Park to the west of that that was recently built out within the past 3 years, about 578 single-family units in total for that development. Southwest of there, Riverstone. This is probably the biggest non-DRI, non-development regional impact residential development we've ever had in Lakeland. 1,299 single-family units are under construction between Pipkin Road and Ewell. As of about 2 weeks ago, we were over 1,100 building permits that have been issued. All of the phases of that development have been platted. So it's real, it's moving forward, and folks that live out in this part of town certainly know what that is, how that has changed Southwest Lakeland. To the west of that, immediately west of that, are another 1,234 homes that are being developed by Four Star Development. That was the subject of a development agreement that the City Commission approved back in February. That will include a new road system to connect in with Riverstone, as well as connect Pipkin down to Ewell. North of that, Morgan Creek Preserve was recently amended to include 321 single-family lots immediately north of Hawthorne. And then as you start to move west towards the County Line Road intersection, we have the large retail and residential center there at the intersection of Pipkin and County Line that under the current development plan will include about 105,000 square feet of retail build-out, 75 single-family homes to the north and east, and then 330 multifamily units to the north. And so all of that is under development as we speak as well. And then, of course, going up and down the County Line Road corridor, a number of primarily business park and industrial developments on both sides of County Line Road in both Polk and Hillsborough counties. So to answer your question about connectivity back to Lakeside Village, long story short, all of this is really part of our justification of trying to get this connection completed to Lakeside Village. You know, as the roads continue to need to see improvements, intersections need to be improved in this area. We also want to make sure that our bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure is also taken care of. And most of the roads out here are part of our Pathways Vision Network, is adopted as part of the comprehensive plan. So it is our intent to push that forward and ask DOT, using its normal funding sources and particularly, you know, any leveraging that can be done with this resurfacing project to get that very short section done.
Chuck, thank you for your comprehensiveness. It might be possible to have a more comprehensive answer than that, but I don't know how. Commissioner McCarthy.
I was just going to say the same thing. Thank you to Commissioner Madden for bringing up my request from Friday, because I think this is really good for the public to see too, and to hear the way you speak about, you're so knowledgeable about everything that's going on, and Google can't even keep up with you, because you know, and I really, really appreciate you showing the areas and detailing the areas. Okay, this doesn't look like this right now, but this is what's approved for that area, and showing everyone. I hope that, for me, I say this a lot, I'm a visual learner, so for me to look at this in its entirety, it helps me think as a commissioner not only about our planning and what we do as planners, but also how the utility department and Lakeland Electric, how this folds into their matrix, how it folds into public safety. I have to look at it from this view to think about all those things. So thank you for doing that for all of us.
And that the forward thinking exists,
Yeah.
you know. Yes, other commissioners. Commissioner Reed and
Thank you. In light of all the development out there, and with the airport picking up and Geico going to be coming back to business and stuff like that, I assume it's sometime in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, we're going to have a failing road. Now, and my question is to Palmer, do we have to adhere to our comprehensive plan and in reference to when we want to build our park, are we going to be able to build it because of a failing road? Or are we exempt from that?
I don't think the park is going to cause the failure. I mean, that.
Well, I know, I'm assuming it's going to be failed before that's built.
I was asking if it's an obstacle.
Is it an obstacle? I mean, I guess it could be an obstacle, yes, depending on what's going on out there, yes. I mean, you can't add additional traffic to a failing road unless you have some kind of way to mitigate that traffic.
And the good news is, in terms of our concurrency management ordinance, exempts city facilities from concurrency determinations. And so kind of the logic behind that is we don't want to hold up a park for a transportation issue when really we also have to adhere to our level of service standards for park facilities in the comprehensive plan. We don't want to get into dueling level of service standards for the different types of infrastructure. So in terms of city facilities, those are exempt from our concurrency determinations. The exceptions to that are if there's a private business that is leasing a piece of city property, like at the airport, they still go through the concurrency process, traffic study reviews, and all of that, as if a private development using its own land would.
And to step into Chuck's role, I mean, having the park out there actually captures the traffic out there, as opposed to them having to drive to Peterson Park or Lake Park Park.
I agree.
So we will be exempt, basically.
Yes.
Long story short, thank you.
And we're also working with the adjacent developers to provide those bicycle and pedestrian connections directly to the park property. So the trails that are built along Modelo Road, they will lead into the park, as well as what's coming from Hawthorne. And so we're trying to keep as much of that traffic, even localized, off the road system as possible.
You know, when you think about the park, that was the purpose of putting it down there, is that keep the centricity of accessibility by people who could walk and ride there as well. So that should be a wonderful asset. Plus, it keeps it from being more houses than it would have probably been otherwise. All right, so that gives a little breath. You have to have some breath of green spaces. Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chuck. So I just did want to say that when Chuck and I was cornering him at the ribbon cutting event to ask him questions because he's such an expert. And AJ, was it AJ that was with you?
Yes.
And so he renewed my hope that folks really want to use these bike and pedestrian accesses to places, because I think he said he lives on 540.
South of 540 off of Lakeland Highlands, and rides his bike to work
every day. And so I think there are young people and young professionals and who are moving into these, you know, especially like the multifamily today that we're discussing, who that is their lifestyle choice, and they don't want to, you know, be as car-centric as we have been in the past. And so I know sometimes we, you know, kind of have a mindset based on our own experience, and yet this is what I'm hearing more and more of, is that they would, you know, pick up the bike and take it. So that, I thought that was a great example, and wanted to give AJ a shout out for riding his bike to work.
Great. Any other comments? All right, sir. That brings us then, I appreciate that very much, Chuck. We have no action on that. That brings us to the resolutions for proposed lots cleaning and clearing.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second.
Title one real quickly.
Oh, sorry.
Pardon?
She's ready.
Go ahead.
Yes, proposed resolution number 22-021, a resolution relating to assessments determining the necessity for having cleaned and cleared certain properties within the city of Lakeland, providing for the assessment of liens against such property for expenses incurred in the cleaning and clearing thereof, providing an effective date.
All right, and there was a motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? Seeing none, this a roll call vote. Commissioner Walker? Oh, sorry. I'm slow on this.
Can I speak?
On lots clearing and cleaning, sure.
My name is Alfred Antonio Gomar Jr., Alfredo Gomar Martinez. I see you're doing wonders. The housing for middle class, youth, upper class youth, and bicyclists.
So this comment could be saved for the end. This has to be just to the lots clearing.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, just lots clearing and cleaning. All right, any other discussion by the audience? Seeing none, Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Unanimously passes. And that brings us then to the legal fee report, which was an informational item. Do you want to touch on that, sir?
Just if you have any questions, I'm happy to address them. Otherwise, that's FYI.
And then the proposal for the Williams Water C2.
Yes, next item is a proposal with CROM LLC to perform inspections and conduct repairs and then recoat 2 5 million gallon ground storage tanks at the TB Williams Water Treatment Plant. These 2 tanks are the city's main storage tanks for the storage of treated finished water that serves the city and its citizens. The tanks are on a 5-year recurring inspection cycle and are due for maintenance, which is required for regulatory compliance. In addition, inspections have revealed some wear and tear damage on the tanks that will need to be repaired. This CROM is the original tank manufacturer and is being procured as a sole source for this project. Total cost for the project are $507,371 and is within Water Utilities FY 2022 budget. This is recommended for your approval. We have representatives from Water Utilities if you have any technical questions about the project.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
And a second by Commissioner Walker, and discussion by commissioners. We talked a little bit about this on the agenda study. Any by the audience? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
All right, the last item is the proposed acquisition and redevelopment agreement with Onyx Investments 2 LLC for the redevelopment of the Oak Street parking lot. And I don't know if Elise, can you go ahead and put up the map showing where this is? And as he does that, I'll just briefly describe this, or I'm not going to briefly describe it. It's going to take a little bit to describe this agreement, actually. But this is for the development of a multifamily and retail office mixed-use development and associated parking garage on an approximately 1.5 acre CRA property that's located north of East Oak Street, east of North Tennessee Avenue, south of East Peachtree Street, and west of North Kentucky Avenue. That property is commonly known as the Oak Street parking lot and is currently being utilized as a 150-space surface parking lot. As you know, we had originally entered into negotiations with a prior developer for the development of this property, and those did not successfully conclude. So CRE staff issued an additional request for proposals in July of 2021 and received 2 proposals to redevelop this property. One was from True Investors Development, the other was from Onyx. Selection committee consisted of a city commissioner, an LDDA staff member, a member of the CRA advisory board, city staff, and a private citizen. I met on September 30th, 2021 to evaluate the submittals and unanimously agreed to recommend negotiations with Onyx initially, and if that failed, then with True Investors. The City Commission considered the Selection Committee's recommendation and agreed with that on October 18th, 2021. And so after that, City and CRA staff entered into negotiations with Onyx for this project and have now negotiated the agreement that you have before you. I'll just briefly go over the material terms of that agreement. First, the project is for the construction of no less than 200 multifamily residential units on the property, approximately 2,000 square feet of retail or office space, approximately 424 structured parking spaces, and approximately 16 on-street parking spaces. The purchase price for the property is $1,836,000. With respect to the parking garage, the CRA will contribute $1,100,000 toward the construction of the garage. That would be paid upon issuance of the certificate of occupancy once that parking garage is completed and constructed. The CRA will receive the exclusive use of 134 of the approximately 424 parking spaces in the garage, and the CRA will have the right to sublease those units as it sees fit or make them available to the general public. The CRA will pay Onyx $70 per month per space over the 25-year term of the parking lease, and that rate would increase by 5% every 5 years during the term of the lease agreement. In the event that Onyx is unable to provide the entire 134 parking spaces, the CRA's contribution to the construction of the parking garage would be reduced on a pro rata basis by $8,208.96 for each space that would not be provided. However, in order to replace those 150 spaces that are being lost, Onyx would be required to provide the city at least 150 total parking spaces between the structured parking spaces and the on-street parking spaces, with no less than 129 structured parking spaces in the garage. As part of the incentive package, the city and/or the CRA will pay, waive, or otherwise satisfy the fees related to site plan reviews, building permits, inspections, impact fees, and off-site utility improvements up to an amount not to exceed $736,000. If the costs are anticipated to exceed this amount, then Onyx would provide notice to the city that they expect that those costs will exceed that $736,000 amount. And at that time, then the city and the CRA would decide whether they wanted to contribute additional funds towards this project. If the city and CRA decide that they do not, then Onyx would have the right to terminate the agreement. That notice from Onyx would have to occur prior to the closing date. So we would know before we start getting into construction of this project, what those anticipated excess costs are. So we wouldn't be knee deep in this project, having expended a lot of money before we got to that point. The agreement provides for tax increment financing for the project if Onyx completes the project within 36 months of the closing. And Onyx would receive 80% of the TIF generated by the project in years 1 through 5 and 60% in years 6 through 10. The agreement creates a total incentives cap of $1,836,000, which would include the CRA's contribution to the parking garage and the payment or waiver of the city's fees and costs. TIF payments would not, the redevelopment incentives cap would not include the TIF payments. That's above and beyond that redevelopment incentives cap. And it would not cover the cost of any kind of necessary underground relocation of electric utility poles on the site or that border of the site. However, we do not think that that is going to be an issue with this particular project. With respect to affordable housing, Onyx will lease at least 15 units to tenants whose income does not exceed 80% of the Polk County area median income. And a lease, I guess after I get done with this, we have been talking to the developer about some tweaks to that language, and we'll take it up after I get done summarizing the agreement. The affordable housing obligation would expire 15 years after the issuance of the CO for the project. As far as due diligence, Onyx will have a 90-day inspection period following the execution of the agreement to determine the suitability of the property for their project. And they may terminate the agreement anytime prior to the expiration of the inspection period at their sole discretion, and receive a refund of their $25,000 deposit for the project. That the 90-day inspection period can be extended by Onyx for 2 30-day extensions. Similar to other projects that we've done in the downtown area, this agreement requires that Onyx submit the building elevations, exterior materials, and color schemes for the project for the City Commission's approval. So you'll get a chance to see what this is going to look like and approve that or request changes to that. The closing of the transaction shall occur no later than 12 months following the execution of the agreement, subject to 2 30-day extensions that Onyx may exercise at their sole discretion with no additional cost. In addition, Onyx may request additional 30-day extension periods beyond those 2 included extension periods, subject to payment of $10,000 for each extension granted by the CRA. If they do not close on the project and the city is not in default and not the reason for that failure to close, then that deposit would be the city's and the CRA's at that point. Finally, the way we've tried to structure most of these downtown development agreements is to make sure that the developer is ready to proceed with the project prior to closing on the property. We don't want to sell the property to the developer and then they sit on it and realize it's more expensive than they thought it would be and don't do anything with the property, and we've relinquished title to the property. So this agreement requires that Onyx have in its hand prior to the close all required building permits and other development permits for the construction of the project. They have to have an executed construction contract in place with their contractor. They have to have secured a construction loan in an amount sufficient to complete the project, and that loan must close contemporaneously with the close of the sale of the property from the CRA to Onyx. And finally, they have to agree to commence construction of the project within 30 days of the closing date. So with all of that, we're recommending approval of that. I did say that there's a minor tweak to the affordable housing language that Elise will put up on the screen.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve in a second. And now an amplification by Elise.
We don't often use that camera, but I wanted to just kind of pull this language here. But as City Attorney mentioned, we were talking with both of the attorney teams, representatives from Onyx Group, about the affordable housing language, and we just wanted to make sure that it was it allowed for the flexibility as necessary for the developer to be able to lease up those units without overly restricting it. And I think with relative to recalculation of some of the numbers on an annual basis for potential tenants. But I don't know how you want to handle that, Palmer, just in terms of reading in the amended language.
Maybe just explain what that language is intended to do.
Sure. So in the language is rent for the affordable units shall be limited to 30% of the income calculated for 80% of Polk County area median income, adjusted for family size as published by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation annually. And those numbers just came out. And so, again, we're trying to bring down those rents for potential renters. We're looking at 80% AMI as a cap there of what could be charged for those 15 units that are being proposed by the developer. I'll take any questions on it, and then also a representative from Onyx Group is also here as well if you all have any questions. Mr. Arjun Chowdhury is here as well.
And as I forgot on Friday, I also forgot to mention this morning that the CRA Advisory Board considered the terms and conditions of this agreement on April 7th and has unanimously recommended approval to the City Commission.
With this as well, all right.
They did not consider this. This is something that's
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not being an objection to what has been presented, but I have a question about how do we determine the number of units for affordability as when we come to affordable housing situation?
Sure.
Because over the years, I've seen different numbers. Is it based on a total package kind of a situation, the percentage of that, or the percentage of what the dollar cost is for the actual project itself? How do we come up with that number?
Sure. So in the past, Commissioner, we've issued RFPs and we've included a number of affordable units or percentage that we would like to see. We understand affordable housing is a it's a tremendous community need.
Sure.
And in the previous request for proposals, we asked for 20%, and that effectively, it flipped the pro forma, and we ended up not getting a project. So in this case, we put out the RFP. We asked for the developer to tell us what they can do and what works for their numbers. And in this case, when Onyx responded to that RFP, the original project was scheduled for 153 units, and they proposed the 10% of those units as affordable units, and that's at 80% AMI. So we fast forward, the commission asked for additional density on this project.
Yeah.
And when the developer went back and included those additional units, they added 47, a minimum of 47 units in this case, which also increases their construction budget. And so now we've gone from about a $37 million project up to about a $50 million project with the new with the added cost there. And so what we didn't want to do is penalize the developer for meeting the request of the commission while adding density. So effectively, you treat it as a density bonus, and while it only represents about 7.5% of the overall units, based on the developer's desire to construct and those numbers, we thought it only fair that we not increase the request for affordable. The way it's currently structured, we're just rough calculation based on projected income ranges and household sizes. The developer is already leaving about $2 million on the table over the 15-year period relative to what could be market rate on those rents by coming in with 15 units at 80% AMI. And so you can see the impact overall on those potential numbers if we continue to push for additional affordable units.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners? Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Philip, maybe to answer your question a little bit, if from one perspective there, we're looking at about a $44,000 year income is our median income. So they're going to be, so the way I look at it, it's going to be about $1,000 a month is the most they could pay. Now, I don't know if that's going to be for an efficiency or if that's going to be a 3-bedroom. But I don't know. There again, that was one question. I don't know the mix, and that's probably irrelevant right now. But that's, so you're looking at about $1,000 a month for those particular instances. Of course, also when Palmer was talking, it appears that the cost overrun or cost in excess of $736,000 will be known before the inspection period is over. And so we'll know that figure in advance of the inspection period. And I brought it up on Friday, but I have some issues with the length of the TIF program. They may want more than, I've always thought sooner is better than later. I'd rather give them 100% for 5 years than stretch it out, and then we would get it after that. And then, as Commissioner Chad McLeod mentioned, the CRA had some issues with the affordability of the money and not being applied towards the purchase price. That was something that I would like to see, but there again, I'm only one of few, and of course, I'm only concerned about after the 360 days from that standpoint. If you understand what I'm referring to, is that at the 360th days, if they haven't closed, any $10,000 requested after that would be hard and not apply towards the purchase price.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, are you referring to the extensions?
Yes.
So those extensions are applied to the purchase price.
That's what I'm saying. I want them applied not to the purchase price. Then they'll have some skin in the game per se. They can't just carry it on forever, and they're not making any contribution to the city per se.
Sure. So I think Arjun would like to comment on that. All that I've heard as we've gone through this process is that they are wanting to get through the due diligence and get a shovel in the ground sooner rather than later. But I do want to just, because you mentioned on the TIF numbers as well, I wanted to speak to the TIF numbers over a 10-year period. Based on the way the agreement is currently structured, it'd be about $3.6 million in TIF to the developer over 10 years. And again, that's not an out-of-pocket number, all right? It's realized with the development. Over a 5-year period, that's about $2.5 million at 100%. And so I won't speak for the developer, but if you 100% the TIF for a 5-year period, I'm certain the developer will still need to obtain that $1.1 million for their project in some capacity. And so I think if we're willing to cut a check to fill that gap, perhaps that's, Arjun would be willing to consider that. So.
Hi. I stepped up because I wanted to answer your question on skin in the game. We've already got skin in the game. We're paying consultants who are hard to get a hold of. The civil consultants, the architects, we're already spending money. So, I mean, $10,000 is not a problem, but I mean, at this point of time, we just want to see the deal kind of be ironed out and fleshed out entirely today. Speaking of one of the biggest drivers of this entire conversation, we and everybody involved in this process need to get this off the ground as quickly as possible. Interest rates are going up. So even before, these minor changes were made this morning, our capital markets team, which is basically the broker JLL, that's going to help us syndicate the debt for this project, the loan for this project. They've already got terms that we've kind of agreed on with the city of Lakeland. It's already been shopped around. We should have answers in the next 35 to 40 days as far as what terms, financial bank loans we can get on this project. So I would urge you to kind of not, I hate saying this, but upset the apple cart as it is right now, because there are people who are looking at the deal the way it's structured right now. So if we can kind of, I understand everything that you said. One of the biggest things that we also kind of, miss is it's hard to kind of, give up a lot over here. It seems like the city of Lakeland is giving us substantial incentives. I just want to kind of highlight the fact that, in downtown Tampa, the rents are at $4.20 a square foot, which makes a 1,000 square foot unit $4,200, which is crazy. It never used to be that expensive, but with construction costs and interest rates going up, we as the developer need maximum protection. And the other commitment, at least as far as Onyx is concerned, one project won't define a downtown, right? So this is the first project that we're doing. I'm going to come to you with 2 other projects of a similar scale, asking for a similar incentive package. This is the first of 3 that I'm going to try and do within this year. At least get it teed off. We obviously won't launch all the projects together because they will cannibalize each other's tenancy. We'll space them up by 6 months as far as construction is concerned. But the protection that you're providing us with a 10-year TIF is really kind of setting up the market for success in the future, because these are the first projects of its kind, and they are literally the most expensive costing projects. So I mean, this is the $53.6 million number that you saw as the construction budget is really just the construction budget. It has no, I mean, we don't have any impact and utility fees, but there's no consultant fees, there's no other fees that, the soft costs are not included. This project is actually a $70 million deal right now, as of today, 71 to be precise. So, I mean, 2 others would take Onyx's investment into downtown to about $210 million. So I would suggest that, you please take into account that our earnestness is extreme in wanting to do what you're trying to do here.
Commissioner Music.
Arjun. Did he? Arjun. Okay. Okay, so I have a question. So, bless you. So we have seen projects come up in the Lake Miriam, some of these other things, and we've seen as a commission, I mean, we've seen displays, bedrooms, layouts, we've seen landscaping, we've seen buildings. Why is it that we haven't seen this, or what have I missed on seeing this?
We will see that.
But we're going to approve it, and then we're going to see it.
Scope of, right. Before they are finalized, we will have an opportunity to look at the concept.
But I won't have an opportunity to go back and say, I mean, all I'll be able to do is change the stucco or the window color.
You cannot like it and vote against the concept design.
We can.
Commissioner, I mean, I think also, by right, this would be allowed. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the land use and zoning application on this property already would allow for those.
Or allow it, so it's not,
what happens,
which I'm for. I'm going to vote for it. I was just curious.
I think what you're referring to is oftentimes you see projects come before you where there's an associated land use or zoning amendment, and then you get to see that, especially when there's a PUD. But in this case, it would be by right. So what's before you now is really the deal, the agreement for the CRA to enter into with these developers.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I was unclear of that. I'm for it. I think this is the best use for it. Right. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding that correctly. But yeah, I think
Onyx has a great history of.
Yeah, and I did some research after Friday and looked through some of the projects they've done, and I mean, for us to be able to have a lot and have the 7-story building is going to be awesome. So I'm looking forward to it.
Any other comments or questions? All right, any comments or questions by the audience on this project? Yes, sir.
I have an idea. I think maybe you have thought of it too.
Can you pull the mic down?
Okay. I have an idea. Alfredo Antonio Gomar Jr., Alfredo Gomar Martinez. I have an idea. I think you have thought of this too. It's about the homeless, and this project. We can help the homeless and settle the problem of the homeless in this city if we spread them out into units like these. And then we won't have a homeless problem, you see. But we also need to provide some counseling, help with Social Security cards. Some people are disabled. Now, I know a young woman who works in Circle K. She's up for managership, but today she went to another place. She's going to another place to work a second job. She lives in a tent in Decent Drive. The owner of the dilapidated mobile home, I guess she lets her kids live in the mobile home. She has an autistic child and 2 older children. Now, she's just making ends meet, and she's living in a tent. This would be and she's working. She's working. Some people are not working and living in the street and doing. I met a gentleman yesterday. I met another gentleman. He suggested that next to the schools you build housing for when there's a problem or there's problems in the family or something. They can live next to the school, so the kids can go to school and won't miss school. That was suggested by one of my associates, who's going to be my partner in a business that I'm going to start. That's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. And certainly, one of the things we're appreciative of with Onyx is the 15-unit provision for the affordable housing that we're putting into place. And let me finish. We'll come back.
You're doing great things. Beautiful. This is beautiful. The lofts in Lake Parker, the housing behind Kentucky and Tennessee. All this is beautiful.
Thank you. And we're grateful for that because it's a cost. You know, it's an ongoing cost, and we recognize that. And so, thank you, as well as some of the additional homeless specific projects that we're doing across the city, which we have to do with a lot of those, a lot of varying different options to make that work. Any other comments by the audience? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously and enthusiastically passes.
I guess clarification, that included the language that Elise included on the overhead? Okay.
Yeah, I guess
Bill,
that's good.
I'm a no. How about that?
Oh, you were?
I'm a no. Yeah, that's okay. It passed.
6-1. 6-1. I missed that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I think I didn't ask. Yeah.
You asked and answered the question simultaneously.
Right. I apologize. All right, that takes us then to Finance Director report, and there are utility items were done by consent, so we are ready for audience comments. So any audience comments?
My name is Alfredo Antonio Gomar Jr., Alfredo Gomar Martinez. Or Alfred Gomar Jr., Alfred A. Gomar Jr., Alfred Anthony Gomar Jr. I came to this meeting today to say that after a long study of religion, Christianity and other religions, I've become a Muslim. And my name is Saber the Patient. I came to say that I was impatient with you, but you're doing wonders. And I hope that that will spread out to the homeless. I am the godfather of the homeless. I stated so in not this past NAACP or the other one, but the one that Chief Gibbons attended. I named myself the godfather of the homeless. Well, for that, a gator was put behind my house the day that I was going to the NAACP meeting. For a function. I know who did that and who's caused me a lot of problems. I call him Jerry Mulligan. He's not a musician, but I call him Jerry Mulligan. He lives at 818 Lake Larch Loop in Lakeland Harbor, Lakeland Harbor community, which is State Road 33, 4747 in the front. Is 818 Lake Larch Loop. He's a motorcyclist, he has a pontoon, and he has a Silverado. And he's caused a lot of headaches for me and my mother. As a matter of fact, he hit our air conditioner once, and she was supposed to have two breathing treatments a day. I had to give her an extra one because she almost died on me then. I complained to the police department about this gentleman for many times. The first thing he said when we first got there, I don't want black people in this here. And we don't want black people. He's just signing for everybody. We don't want black people in this neighborhood. All right? I didn't call the police. I let it go. I should have called then. It would have been nipped in the bud. He caused me headaches. My father caused me headaches too with the police department. And I was Baker-acted many times, all the way up to Chattahoochee. And the psychiatrist up there said to me, "What are you doing here? Why are you coming here? What are you doing here? To get medical? You don't come here to get medical attention." I said, I had no other choice in the matter. Every time I come to the commissioners' meetings, I end up Baker-acted. Now it was Captain Dunn, twice. Capitana Dunn, twice. I support the police. I've given them $65 from my income. My income is $1,139 a month. Luckily, I pay only $544.95 a month in rent in the Lakeland Harbor community. I like it there because I'm close to the post office. I'm close to the entrance. It's a nice street. But that eyesore is there. I live in 821 and he's in 818. Mr. Music, he's in your district. I read a book called Hostile Witness, which was about Frank Rizzo. He bulldozed people's houses who were drug dealers. Well, his ill-gotten gains got him all that. He might not be doing it now, but he's not a reformed citizen. He hit my house with a 2x4 before, when I was alone, before my mother came back from the rehabilitation center. And then he hit the air conditioner and she almost died on me. I called the police, they did nothing. They want me to go to get an injunction. Hey, he has a lot of friends. Motorcyclists, one time there was 25 motorcyclists out there in that neighborhood. At night, I didn't call the police, but I told them about it later. My car was vandalized, I got a case number. My car, again, was vandalized. I got a case, luckily I got a deal. My car only had 36,360 miles on it. I got $16,000 for it, and I have a van, a Ford Transit. I'm starting a business. That's all I wanted to talk to you about.
Thank you.
You're doing wonders.
And I'm very, very sorry for that problem. Commissioner Music, do you have a comment?
On that?
Yeah, no? Okay, all right, I thought I heard. Yes, sir. Just state your name, please.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Terry Coney, President of the Lakeland branch NAACP. And I'm here this morning to announce that we'll be sponsoring a Memorial Day ceremony, May 28th, 10 a.m. at the Buffalo Soldier Historical Marker on Lake Wire. You're all invited. We had a great inaugural event last year. I think Commissioner Muzak was there, Commissioner Madden was there. We're working with the Lakeland Police Department as far as traffic and maybe blocking off some streets to get there. This won't be a long event. I think we tried to get it done in about 30 minutes last year. We look to have it done with between 30 and 45 minutes this year. Secondly, I'd like to thank the city leadership and citizens of Lakeland for the great turnout we had last Tuesday on the return trip from Washington, D.C. for the flight honor ceremony. It was overwhelming for the young man that I escorted up to Washington, D.C., Mr. Jenkins. He kept telling me it was the greatest day of his life. So all of the veterans enjoyed it, and we really appreciate the support that the city gave us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And no, this one, yes, sir. Yes, thank you so much. Okay.
I think I might get surrounded by a bunch of other people, but I'll speak for all of us.
All right.
But, anyway, my name is John Freed, pastor at Believers Fellowship, and then several people in the audience. But this is Miss Janie next to me, and she has been spearheading this year's organization of the National Day of Prayer here in Lakeland. We had a bunch of people come this morning. We misunderstood something. We thought there'd be a proclamation concerning the National Day of Prayer. We had that last year, but we dropped the ball somewhere along the way. We thought that was happening. So anyway, not y'all's fault. That was on us. But I would like to invite the mayor, all of the commission, and all of the city, for that matter, to come out. 3 events this year, the prayer breakfast, the mayor's prayer breakfast, then on the old steps of City Hall at noon. This is Thursday, May the 5th, the old steps of City Hall at noon time. And then in Munn Park, that would officially start at 6:30, but we'll kind of start things up at 6 o'clock. Throughout our nation on Thursday, May the 5th, people will be praying all over. Thursday, May 5th, as a National Day of Prayer. This has been something that's established in the history of America all the way since 1775, and then somewhere along the way, President Lincoln instituted an additional National Day of Prayer. And so, anyway, we want to invite the residents and the commission, the leadership of the City of Lakeland, to join us on Thursday, May the 5th. Either at noon, City Hall, or all of these events, by the way, at noon, the old steps of City Hall, or 6 or 6:30 at Munn Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I equally apologize we didn't have that done.
I'll send you a proclamation, and if possible, maybe it could be verified and approved by everyone, and then read at the event.
Perfect. It'd be great. We'll do that.
That was my fault, Mayor, and I apologize for not sending you something. But thank you.
That's all right. It's mutual.
We appreciate the time to share with us.
Okay, thank you.
Just wanted also to share the fact that every Tuesday at Mitchell's at 7:30, we have prayer over you. So just let you know that you've been praying every Tuesday since 2006. Every Tuesday, 7:30 to 8:30. You're welcome to come, but we pray for you, and we ask the Lord to strengthen you, guide you, give you wisdom, give you revelation, and give you insight with those things that occur at this podium. Amen? So the Lord bless you.
Thank you. Very, very great. Thank you.
If you come, you'll have to buy your own coffee, though.
Are there any other requests from the public? Yes, come on down, sir. Please state your name.
Hey, good morning. I'm assuming this is the audience.
It is,
Okay.
the audience.
I stepped out for the restroom. I came back and something different was happening. My name is Travis Thompson. I've talked to a number of you over the past couple of months, and I didn't want to poke the bear and come back up here and bring up duck hunting in Lake Parker again, but I did want to come, and as a sportsman, as a hunter, as a conservationist in the state, I've emailed with most of you a number of topics about this, but one of the things we mentioned in an article with Lakeland Now was the idea of maybe getting together with the homeowners, because this is an issue that we've kind of put on the commission, like both sides of this discussion has kind of put that on the commission, and so we as the sportsman group are very willing to meet with the homeowners, kind of see if we could mitigate this somewhere. I recognize there's some impasses somewhere in there, but maybe we could, you know, I'm a big economics fan. Maybe the invisible hand could take action, and we
Love that idea.
work this out. So I don't really have a way to communicate that to everyone, but for right now, what I'm going to say is at Black and Brew on next Monday, May 9th, I'll be there at 9:30. So if any of the homeowners are watching this, if any of the homeowners are listening, if the Ledger's watching this, can put that out there. I'll be there at 9:30. I'll try to have a few other hunters there with me, and we can hopefully drink coffee, break bread, and get to know each other a little bit, and hopefully have a reasonable discussion about
This
this
is the
topic.
downtown location, Black and Brew.
I didn't realize there were two, but yes, sir.
That's fine.
That's Monday, May 9th. And that's all I got. Thank you, guys. I recognize y'all are navigating a tough
Thank you.
topic, and I don't want to beat you over the head with it, but
No, I think it's a marvelous
That's a
idea.
great idea.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. There again, if we can get him Janet's number, there again, the biggest issue you're going to probably find, I don't think hardly anybody will show up on that particular day, but if the Lakeshore Homeowners Association is where most of these people live, and if we can get him an invitation, because everybody you're going to want to talk to will be in one spot, automatically in one spot. And when I don't know when the next meeting's going to be. I haven't we had one about a month ago, so it may be a couple of months, but I promise you it'll be before duck season on several of them. But if you can get with them and get Janet's number.
I'm sure she'll be there, but we'll make sure she's contacted.
Well, you know,
Commissioner Walker.
He always can find out through NAC, because they have a schedule. The National Association, Neighborhood Association Coalition has a schedule for all the neighborhood meetings that meet as they do, and because they meet on a regular basis, they have information where Jonathan Rodriguez, who's our contact here at City Hall, can give you that information. So I know he's probably maybe listening, or someone in that particular department is listening.
so I follow up with an email.
Yeah, they give you that information.
Can I send that to you, Commissioner Walker, and follow up with you to get that contact, or is that?
Well, you get it right now.
You've got it.
You can get it right now.
Okay, I can get it right. Okay.
Kevin,
Right there.
right there.
Kevin will do
You
it.
want Kevin Cook, right there.
Thank you.
Our communications director.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being, willing to want to even
Yeah.
to talk and share.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the audience that has anything they'd like to say? All right, that brings us to Commissioner Walker. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I wanted to say thank you all to my colleagues for allowing me again to serve as I have this year, and as time is about to come to a close in the next few months. My presidency is with Florida League of Cities, but I was out of town majority of the week last week, attending what they call the Southern Municipal Leadership Conference, which comprises 14 states to come together, and those particular executive directors or CEOs of those state leagues, as you would call it, along with elected officials, usually the president of those organizations as well. They come together and they have networking opportunities, and of course it's to share. And for me, it was very enlightening just to see the similarities that many cities, towns have throughout this country. And of course, majority of course is talking about your preemption and situations such as that. Florida, of course, out of the 14 states, is the largest. So they kind of look at Florida as being somewhat the big brother, and what guidance that Florida moves towards. Most of the states are in what we call the Bible Belt of our country, so they're very conservative in what they do and how they do. But certainly some of the issues that we hear and talk about here, even in our state of Florida, here in our city of Lakeland, is pretty much, I think, synonymous across the 14 states that meet in this Southern Municipal Conference each year. This is the first one since COVID, so I had not had one in the last couple of years. I think they did like there was a virtual meeting in 21, and I think 20 that was not a meeting at all, I think, because it was onset of COVID at the time. But certainly appreciated the time to be away and talking about, protecting the liberties of our citizens. Where citizens in our different states, cities and towns, should be the ones in the voice that know best what's going on in their particular communities, their own neighborhoods. Just as the gentleman just mentioned about the situation that we've been confronted with, that got laid in our lap in some respect, but willing to come together with the neighborhood to talk about the issue. And that's what it's all about. And that was one of the things I really picked up from how we do that. And I was going to just share with you, use my colleagues, your city keep you safe, your city keep you inspired, your city keeps you moving, your city keep you active. That's what cities do. And I think we do a very good job here. That's I'm just patting ourselves on our back, of course. But as I hear different ones talk around this particular conference time, we do very well here in our city. I think we don't toot our horn enough, but I think if citizens look at what we do and how we do to make sure, number one, has always been quality of life, making sure that we all have a place that we can live, work, and play harmoniously and get along well. I think we did very well here in our city, have done that very well. Public safety is another issue that we won't make sure that everyone has. Thirdly, thing they were talking about was traffic and transportation. So, as the city grows, and many of these cities are growing, and we're really growing here, as we know here in our city, how we can make sure that growth is done right as best we can, make sure it's done as far as the infrastructure is concerned, to make sure people can still traverse and be able to, come and go and be able to get along, come along and be able to come and go as they could, as best they can. And there was a conversation much about the ARPA dollars that many of the cities have received, counties have received, and how best we utilize those dollars now, especially when it comes to some things that we have had on our radar and had not been able to do, but now with the appropriations of dollars being given, how we can support some things that we need to have. So again, very good time together. We were in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Never been there. I always heard about Hot Springs. I was expecting to see a much larger place because I always thought Hot Springs was a larger place, but it's about the size of Winter Haven in population. But it has a lot of history there. Of course, that's where a lot of I call it the gangsters came along during the early years of probably the 19th century. And so, so those kind of things are there, of course. And I was able to enjoy Hot Springs, so I really got myself into what my wife and I, so we were able to capture that. But again, thank you all for allowing me to serve as I have and being able to represent Florida and to represent the city of Lakeland, because I always talk about how well I think we manage our city and at best to make sure that we get what we can get for the dollar that we pay as far as our taxes are concerned as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, we thank you for your service, and both at the state level as well as having that national exposure. So that's very, very good. And for your conscientiousness and the way that you incorporate watching out for everyone. And so you have a wonderful legacy, sir, and we are grateful to have it as part of this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Mr. Music.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about the proclamations, oddly enough. It's interesting that my wife was a labor and delivery nurse for a long time before she went into education, so familiar with the Nanocephaly, which I can't say very well either. And I just admire and love the family coming up who it's recent, wound for them. But we pass through these so often because they're at the beginning of the meeting, but to just take a few more minutes to recognize that. And then you know, until I ran for city commission, I had no idea what a clerk did, right? And now I know 0.5% of what she does, right? And the fact that you know, a city cannot do what we do without her and her team, and it's just it's like Mr. Lazenby and his group. You're just never seeing it. You know, it says there's so many people that have the mic time and the screen time, but everybody behind, and that's. You know, so, and then Historic Preservation Month. As somebody who has lived here for a long time and lived in very old homes, and as a contractor who has tried to work on historic homes, we have a great group that protects that. We just can't build like we did in a certain window of time. They let some things go up, and they've just stopped that, and they've done such a great thing for that. And I love that we have people that love it so much they're willing to move buildings and do things they can. So. And Motorcycle Awareness Month. You know, I loved seeing that group downstairs. You know, when some of you know, when I left college, I rode my motorcycle from here to Alaska just to go up and get away. So I love that group of individuals. And then Peace Officers Memorial, when Assistant Chief was talking about the ones that had died and then the ones that had committed suicide. I mean, it's just, you hear about it, but again, to have it come up, and it's just, you know, we have these proclamations for certain reasons, but to spend just a few more minutes to talk about each one of those, because each one of those for me meant a little something today. So thank you.
That was very rich. Thank you for doing that. And you know, really, you think about, we take so for granted our public safety that we have in this community, and you cannot, because nothing else matters if that's not in place. Commissioner McCarley?
I just love that Commissioner Music did that, because I do think we kind of rip through it and get to our business and miss out sometimes on first of all, the citizens who make up this great city, who do so much work that is behind the scenes and supporting their passions and things that are important to them. So I wanted to just take a couple seconds. We had our Lakeland Area Mass Transit Citrus Connection Retreat last week, and it went really, really well. You might have seen something in the newspaper about Fair Share, which is not the breadth of the entire conversation that day. And just for people in Lakeland, so the Lakeland area, we do have Lakeland Area Mass Transit Taxing District, so you pitch in as a Lakeland resident to the public transit system. The Lakeland system is a little bit more robust than most of the other systems around the county. The county covers and supports all the other 16 municipalities in their transit efforts, if they are interested. We have a couple municipalities that don't participate, but the county covers 80% of the cost of that for them. So, and if you think about it too, we have a $636 million budget here at the City of Lakeland, give or take tens of millions of dollars. And then other communities around Polk County have a very small budget with a very lean staff, and their city commissioners or council members basically volunteer. They might get a stipend for participating, you know, as a council member, but their budgets, when you look at our budget compared to theirs, it's very difficult for them to maybe come up with that extra 50% of the money that the county is covering for the transit needs. So Lakeland doesn't pay for that for them, but I just sort of wanted to say in response to the Ledger article that the onus on our smaller municipalities it's a subsidized effort from the county that supports their transit. But we had a really good discussion. We discussed that transit is an option for people to utilize public transit. As we continue to grow, we encourage people to do that. It is not, we're not asking for your car keys. We're not trying to overtake your independence by providing public transit. It's just an option that's there. Some people are transit dependent, and that's really important to know, and we want to provide them great service. And as we grow and see people sitting in traffic, as you mentioned earlier, this is an option, a viable option for utilization, and we are encouraging that, and we're very forward thinking in that arena. The second piece is I saw Commissioners Madden and Mayor Mutz at the State of the County on Thursday in the coldest room in Polk County ever known to man. Kelly was there as well. It was about 37 degrees in that room for a 2.5-hour meeting. So I moved. If you didn't see me, it's because I had to get up and keep moving so I wouldn't freeze. But the State of the County, I feel like it was a great presentation from our County Commissioner Chairman Santiago, the County Manager, Mr. Beasley, as well as representation from Superintendent Hyde and school board member Wyatt, and ended with, what I kind of wanted to highlight was ended with Dr. Joy Jackson, the head of our health department, who is phenomenal and ready for COVID to be over as well, bless her soul. But she didn't, the highlight of her information really ties into what you mentioned earlier about neonatal intensive care and labor and delivery nurses, is that there is a morbidity rate for mothers who are Black and babies who are born Black in our community. There is a disparity between all the other races and that race with health, prenatal health, and infant mortality. So it's something that I think Dr. Jackson's been, we've all been so busy with COVID and hearing about that we haven't really looked at other areas that we need to focus on as a community. And I was struck by those, I don't have those statistics handy, but it's on the Florida dashboard for Florida Department of Health. You can go to that dashboard and look at Polk County specifically. And that's something we need to continually talk about. And really what heightened to me too is that we take healthy births for granted. In general, I remember having my first child and ending up with an emergency C-section, and one of our friends said, we all have dumbed down having kids. Like, we've dumbed down the health aspect of, oh, it's just gonna happen and no one's gonna die in childbirth, and we have technology and all this, but it's still very, very dangerous to have a baby. It is something that we kind of glaze over, and I'm glad that Dr. Jackson brought that to the forefront in the state of our county the other day, because I think it's something it's not just a woman's issue, it's a everybody issue. We want it to be safely, and we have a wonderful pavilion here at Lakeland Regional Health, but it's something we need to be cognizant of. And then the last little thing I wanted to, well, two things. One, I did not mention, but I'll circle back to at the end, but attended the Gospel Inc. fundraiser on Thursday evening. Mayor Metz was there. They're doing a great deal of work in our community for the homeless. It was a great event. And finally, back to transit. I'll end on a good note. We have Mayfair this weekend, Bake at the Lake. Woohoo! It should be nice and toasty to go look at artwork. And Polk Museum of Art hosts that in partnership with Florida Southern College. We have so many volunteers, but Lakeland Area Mass Transit Citrus Connection, the squeeze will be active during Mayfair. So that's the golf cart that you can connect. You can go park north of Lake Morton and get on the squeeze. You can look at our website for Citrus Connection and see how to utilize the squeeze and be able to enjoy our downtown and down at Lake Morton. And I hope everybody will take time to do that. And it's Mother's Day, so go buy your mom a piece of art and enjoy it. It'll be a great day in downtown Lakeland this weekend. 2 days.
So I'm going to pivot off of Mayfair, which I love because it's so fun, and I think about it basically as Mother's Day, but I want to do a Mother's Day challenge. I don't have a mom to be able to celebrate Mother's Day with again this year. If you do have one, to think about doing it as respectfully and intentionally as possible. Because sometimes in families, relationships get a little tried, and so circumstances can take place. It is a wonderful opportunity to hit a reset button and spend some time honoring your mother. And while you have the capacity to be able to do that, I'd encourage any citizen who finds that a little difficult to be intentional to do so.
Excellent.
That was great. Very nice. So after that wonderful moment, I just kind of wanted to go alongside Commissioner McCarley's comments after going to USF State of the Region and then also attending Pope Vision's Polk County State of the County. It just was, just trying to glean some big picture things to take back to the commission as we go into our budget retreat. And just, kind of highlight priorities. The thing that was most interesting to me about USF State of the Region, they're just full of data. I mean, it just is numbers, numbers, numbers. And sometimes those numbers can just be hard to sort of process and sort of assimilate and kind of give you sort of something to grab hold of, like without like an image. I always say I need an infographic, being in marketing. But the point about affordability, the gentleman mentioned the $4,000, dollars a month for, the apartment. Some of the challenges with this is folks who are coming into our area who work remotely, who get a paycheck from California or somewhere else where they get paid more, are thinking, well, it's still affordable to them, but for us who live here and continue to see those rents and mortgages, skyrocket, it's not only, the focus on affordable housing that we've been trying to have. We need more units of all kinds and certainly want to prioritize affordable units. But I really want to make sure, it's kind of like juggling, you can't possibly hold all the balls, at once, as a commission or any organization. But to me, it just really, it's jobs, because in Florida, being a tourist location and having a lot of service industry jobs, thankfully, we did better than we thought through the pandemic, and that was all hands on deck. Let's just survive economically the pandemic. But going into the next decade, to be able to forward, even affordable living, as people are moving here and thinking, oh, no taxes, we're affordable, great. We're like, well, okay, you're making it not affordable for us who have lived here and enjoyed Florida. It's going to be incumbent upon us to not only think about the building and construction of housing units, but it's getting jobs that match our college students' degrees, so that they can have, STEM-focused jobs, that we can continue the work at the airport, and that we can get the innovation district rolling along. It was great to hear from Polk County Schools at the State of the County. I would argue it is difficult to manage, a Fortune 500, budget of $2 billion in the academic space, and I'm just curious why we even think that we should, have that responsibility on our local county school board. That is a phenomenal job. The transportation, and Bill Beasley's slide deck. Of course, I asked for it because I'm a slide deck geek, but I just, it just puts it into perspective. When you say fourth largest county in Florida, or you say numbers, it means really nothing. But when you say, no, we're larger than Delaware and Rhode Island. We're bigger than those states. And yet, and then when you think about, we're a majority minority school district now. And so, do we in every city in our county, which is so large geographically, all need to be as focused on our Hispanic educational efforts as does every school need to, or could we concentrate and laser focus? I just think it's hard to do anything well when it's spread out over such a huge, large geographic district. And that goes to transporting children, that goes to having academies spread throughout. You can say, great, we have all these academies, but in order for moms and dads and grandparents and guardians to access it, they have to get up at, 4:30 in the morning to get their children, and then that's more cars on the roads. And you just kind of think, oh my gosh, the simple neighborhood school where you could walk and bike and the families could attend the parent-teacher conferences. I just think that it's just really important for us to remember that, we kind of felt bad about ourselves, about, our education. A few years ago, we had some people really focusing on, we're not going to be able to bring good jobs here because you Google our schools and they're, subpar. When you think about the challenges of being bigger than Delaware and Rhode Island in a geographic location for our school board, even the best and brightest in the country or the world would have difficulty transporting that many, hundreds of thousands of kids and over those miles. And then even with our population, the growth, knowing that it's one thing to say how many numbers grew last year, but to think that the size of Mulberry was added to the city limits of Lakeland last year in 1 year. Well, that means something to people. We've driven through Mulberry, and it's not like the biggest town in Florida, but you're like, oh, what? The whole town of Mulberry just moved inside, not in South Lakeland or outside our borders, but moved into the city of limits. And the size of Haines City moved into our county in 1 year. And so just the realistic outlook to our neighbors and friends and anyone who's listening, we need to work on these challenges of growth together, and we're going to need neighbors and organizations and schools and everybody tackling this growth enigma together. Or it could be either a disastrous result, or it can be the best result, and we can be one of the best and brightest and be written about in the book that Terry Coney let me have when he first came into his position at the NAACP. I appreciated that all the cities, getting those best practices. We want those results. And, so just to look at that our population is about the size of North Dakota as the whole state, and that we have more, people in Polk County than Alaska and District of Columbia and Vermont and Wyoming. I mean, so we think of ourselves, the people who live in Polk County feel like small town folks. Rural, small town agriculture, and we're the big city here in Lakeland, right? And yet we have more people than these states. And so I just thought that was a really good perspective to bring, both from the state of the region, which certainly that's more isolated in the Tampa Bay region. And so what I really could grasp from that is they've already been urban, they've already been tackling transportation and traffic, and that we need to make sure that in Polk County and in Lakeland in particular, that we have jobs that match the degrees of the students that we're trying to get to be excellent, so that we can keep up with the affordability, because we can never create enough affordable units if we just stay subpar jobs in our county and our city. And then secondly, just to consider just the vast geographic location that we are as Polk County, and if it filled up with the people at the same rate as we've been filling up, then we are all going to be in for a different lifestyle than we've been used to, and we won't, we want to keep our feel and have a quality of life, but it's not going to be the same as it was in a rural, small town county for much longer if we continue on this pace. So those are the two things that just are kind of, in my thoughts from the last week.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody's had a lot to say today. I'm going to be a little wordy myself today, unfortunately.
Go ahead.
It was interesting. Commissioner McCarley was talking about healthcare, and I was just reading some stuff where our doctors and nurses growth is about constant, where our administration's gone up 2,000%. So that's where a lot of our health costs is coming from. And Stephanie made a good comment a while ago. I was listening to somebody, I can't remember what it was, but one thing that's absolute is change. Mm-hmm. So invariably, also tonight is the Tropics Championship game at RP Funding Center, 7 o'clock. I think it's free. Yeah, they may charge you for parking, so take a carload of people with you to go. So they'll be there tonight at RP Funding Center. Also, in reference to the Mayfair, it's Saturday starting from 9 to 4. They have the 5K race is going to be at the promenade also. I think the car show's going in. I had asked Kevin earlier today, and from what I read on the webpage, is they're not having the concert and stuff this year. It's going to be a walking thing at Munn Park. That's going to be an open container type of situation. What I understand, what I've read. Is there anything to that I don't know?
We have no word about a Friday night event. I even asked Barry, it's not on their website, so we have no word, and it's not listed as one of their events.
So the event's going to be Saturday night, what I understand. It's going to be a walking event downtown. And so with that, of course, Bill mentioned Mother's Day. I always bought my mother a gift from at the art festival every year. And it's ironic, my daughter called me the other day and she said, "What are we doing for Mother's Day?" And I said, "Well, my mom has passed away. What are you going to do for your mother?" And my son-in-law, I could hear him laugh in the background. So that's yet to be determined. But the one issue I do have is Saturday night, we were coming back down Hardin Boulevard, and right at the intersection of Ariana and Hardin Boulevard, we were there, and all of a sudden, the traffic light went out. And it was raining real hard. And so I asked my wife, I said, call and report this because it was out, and it was a traffic melee going on right there. And I didn't know who to call, so she called this electric department, and we were on the phone. By the time we got to my house, I've still never been in touch with anybody. Got voicemails and voicemail. I mean, go here, go there, go this, that, things. But when you have a traffic signalization that goes out, and it's a rainy evening and it's dark, what's protocol for calling that type of thing? I have no idea. I just gave up. I said, somebody else has to figure it out. We're home, so we're safe, but I felt bad. I tried to make a call right there. I didn't know if it's LPD, but we didn't call them, but I didn't know what the protocol was. Maybe you could get that from my information. in the future, so,
Yes, sir, we can get that information and really through any of our resources, even if it was a non-emergency call, but, you know, through our control room, certainly Lakeland Electric's aware when that goes down, and then they, you know, take some times that, especially if we have, you know, poor weather conditions for them to be able to deploy. I don't know the specifics of that one and what was the cause and how long it took them to resolve, but, you know, what's that?
When light goes out, we know.
Yes, but we're aware through
okay.
the
I didn't see
operations.
signalization there anywhere, because I assumed it was, I didn't see lights out everywhere else, but that particular city was out. Anyway, thank you. Y'all have a great weekend. I hope I see you guys around the lake somewhere.
Thank you, sir. 160 exhibitors this year, most ever. 160. All right, do you have anything, Mr. Davis? City Manager?
Just, we have a 1 o'clock meeting.
1 o'clock, our workshop in the commission conference room.
Just when you felt you were free, you know? Okay, so with no other items, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Are we gonna be here?